Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Wrestle Addict Radio Network.
Hey, what's up, you guys?
What is going on, everybody?
What up, fam?
Hey, it's me.
What up, Oozes?
What's up, guys? This is the Monday Night Delight.
Are you looking for a network that brings you all things pro wrestling? Then look no further. Wrestle Addict Radio brings you a varied source of wrestling content.
What's going on, guys? This is Willie T.
My name's Mr. Fretz.
This is your resident Smart Slayer.
Search for Wrestle Addict Radio on all major podcast platforms and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.
Buzz, guys. My name is Kate Murphy of the Kings of the Ring podcast, and you are listening.
And you're listening. And you're listening.
And you are listening.
And you are listening.
Get ready for a war, because you're listening.
Come join the war each and every week as we fight to keep wrestling real.
What's up, everybody? This is Katie Ricky Rose, and you are listening to Wrestle Addict Radio.
Good morning, Ooses. It's DFDC, Jeff Pamaccio, the host of Not Your Mama's Soap Opera, and you are listening to the Game Changer podcast exclusively on Wrestle Addict Radio.
Yeah, I know. He's gone, but at the same time, I wanted to play that just one more time because, feelings. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the Game Changer podcast, a part of Wrestle Addict Radio. I am NateFNGreat. You can follow me and complain at me on Twitter at RealFNGame. And I'm being joined here by the Prime Minister, the one and only, everyone's favorite Canadian of all of the times. You know, under Bret Hart and, Chelsea Green, something like that. He's loved. Let's just say that right now. It is indeed Mr. Fretz.
I'm okay being number 6,312,105th favorite Canadian. Yes, it is. Oh, dear me, I'm sorry. Oh, what a great way to start. It is Mr. FRETZ, the Prime Minister of Wrestle Addict Radio, your whatever number I just said, favorite Canadian, and Christmas is less than 2 weeks away, and I'm done my shopping, suckers.
Oh, man, I do envy you because I still have a little bit of shopping that I have to do. I'm actually waiting for the gifts to come for my fabulous nephews, who I absolutely love and adore. And honestly, I got a chance to spend time with them this past weekend. It was great. I even got to read my first story to them, which I will tell you this. My brother literally just said when I brought that book home, he just said, "You're reading that to them tonight. You know that, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And like almost every 10 minutes, it was like, "You're reading to them tonight. You're reading that to them tonight." I'm like, I know, I'll do it.
God, get them out of my hands for 10 minutes.
Right.
I know. I'm the fun uncle myself. Like this past week, the second I got at my brother's house, my nephew was like, "Did you bring your Nintendo Switch, Uncle Jamie?" Yep. So boom, into the other room we went to play Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I've beaten now, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Great game. And now I've been giving him all of my Uber-level Pokemon for him to cheese through the game.
Nice. That is what uncles do. Find ways to help the nephews and nieces cheat. I mean, help them along the way with their Pokemon training.
Wink, wink.
There we go. So, that was a major highlight of the weekend. Getting the chance to shop for the family was great. It was kind of like an early Christmas deal because on this side of the family, we're actually not really doing gifts. We're actually spending more time as a family, getting to kind of just bond and stuff like that. So that was more something that was pretty. But another big thing that happened this past weekend, for me at least, was getting the chance to go to not one but two wrestling shows back to back. Which one of my friends actually said, "You're doing like back to back wrestling shows, dude. You're hardcore, man." It's like, I know, I'm a hardcore wrestling fanatic. What can you say? The first one that was on Friday was the ACW 6th anniversary show that I got to do commentary for the entire show. And in all honesty, guys, I think it went by very well. I thought there were a couple moments where maybe there was like an awkward pause or something like that, or there was a point maybe where I just slipped a line. But from what I've been told, I did a fantastic job. The commissioner was looking forward to listening to it. Colucci, one of the guys, owners, he's looking forward to listening to it. Swoggle said he was looking forward to listening to it. I remember saying to so many people, I said, like, dude, I tried so hard to, like, put you over, and I I think there was like one match where I literally said, I know I'm supposed to be the professional, but this guy is like one of my favorites. I can't say it any more nice things about him if I could, but I'll find a way to do it. I basically made it seem like, oh, he's my favorite wrestler. And yes, it's Randy Fitzsimmons, who you've definitely heard on the podcast a couple of times. A couple things that came out of this event were the fact that Seth Gambino became a back-to-back winner of the All-Star Trophy, and he would actually cash in on the ACW Water City champion, Shane Hill, who won it from Adam Grace. So it was a big night for him. And the reason why I bring up Seth Gambino quite a bit is because of the fact that I got the chance to interview him this past weekend as well. And it's a great interview where we talk about wrestling. We talk about some of the stuff with ACW. He actually gets a chance to ask me a couple questions, which is awesome. We even talk about battling with depression, some of the things that can definitely help people get out of that that dark place, because it is a tough battle to win when it comes to depression. But one thing we can definitely take out of it is that you're not in this alone. Definitely, get the help that you need, but also know that you're human. You have a right to have emotions, and you are not in this battle alone. That is the main thing when it comes to depression. And honestly, I think we've even talked a couple bits about this, Fretz, about how strongly we feel about people who have this battle with depression, and how important it is to get help for that battle.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And I have many friends who have battled with it, and although I don't self-diagnose, but usually this time of year I get a little bit down, but it's just because I'm remembering certain circumstances and things that have happened this time of year in the past, which I've actually mentioned on air, and it every time it comes back, and I've never sought the help. I mean, I don't want to say I don't think I need it, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. Yeah. Another thing that took place at the ACW 6th anniversary show was got to see Rhino versus Logan Lynch, which was a great matchup. Logan Lynch has finally broken the curse. For the longest of times, he was battling all these veterans, and he kept losing to him. He finally gets a win over a veteran. So that was something great. And also the Players Club regained their tag team titles against Famous Trash, which is also cool because I did make the announcement on my Facebook fan page that they will actually be my next guest on the podcast to interview. So definitely tune into that one. It's going to be awesome. So first time ever them interviewing a tag team, actually. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And then we go into Blizzard Ball that was put on by Great Lakes Championship Wrestling, and all of the great memories from that. Oh, jeez. I can tell you this right now, that getting the chance to meet up with some of the wrestlers was great, but I got a chance to meet up with a friend that I haven't seen in years, and I was originally supposed to sit in the second row, but what ended up happening was that I actually ended up sitting next to her, because I thought, as cool as it would be to kind of sit in the second row, it's more fun to enjoy times with friends, and especially when you're going to wrestling event. It's not as fun going alone, but when you're sharing it with friends, it makes it just that much more fun. So got that chance, and people have already seen the pictures. One picture I'm very proud of, that I also rubbed into my co-host's face, was that I got to meet the one and only AEW star, Mr. Ty Dillinger, a.k.a. Sean Spears. Yes, I am number one. I know. Literally, I saw him straight away across. My eyes lit up, and I'm like, oh, I got to get a picture with him. He's out here right now. I got to get this picture with him. And I'll tell you the funny story. I told the same thing to Fretz as soon as this happened. I remember coming up to him. I just said, hey, thank you so much for coming down. Thank you so much for everything you do. He was a very nice guy, and I've heard, I think in one of our chats we had people saying that he was a bit of a dick. To me, he was pretty good. He was a pretty good guy. Although what I'm about to say right now probably might change a lot of people's perspective on that. I did say to him, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is that one of my friends is a huge fan of yours, and I kind of want to rub it in. And he was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Okay. Well, you be sure to tell your friend I said, eat shit. Literally, I almost busted out laughing. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like, man, that's like rubbing salt in the wound, man. Okay. So So I do apologize for rubbing a little bit of salt in the wound, Fretz, but hey, at least you got noticed by Sean Spears, even though you weren't exactly there.
Yeah, in a way, Spears, what the hell, dude? We're both from Ontario, Canada. Yeah, St. Catharines is quite away from Sauble Beach. I know that because I passed through St. Catharines going to Niagara Falls Comic Con, which I've bought my tickets for now. I'm going next year, and nice. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash have been announced. Maybe they actually show up this time because they were supposed to 2 years ago. Yeah, and also I've been doing nothing but sing his praises since he was in. You know what? Since he was in ECW, since he was Gavin something. Wasn't he called Gavin Spears or some weird variant of his name? Like, hey, I like this guy. You're like, oh, he's Canadian. Then, okay, he's from Ontario. I'm going to like him anyways. Like, as I said before, Bobby Roode, who is going to be spending a bit more time back in Peterborough. I was born like right beside that town.
Nice. So with GLCW, it was still a really good show. Nothing really too much here, and I think it was kind of hard for me to get into the show as much because I didn't know like some of the storylines that were going on. There was a great women's matchup that featured Melina going 1-on-1 with the GLCW Ladies Champion ODB. I loved getting a chance to see her again, and just talking to her, saying hey, I hate the fact that the whole thing that happened with your truck, that was really sucky, but it definitely seems like she was doing very, very well, and she just loves coming to the area, just performing for everybody, and she's really nice. I really enjoyed that. I also got the chance to meet Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt. Luchasaurus, I believe, for the first time. Marco Stunt for second or third time this year. Well, whatever. But getting a chance to meet them, I even mentioned the karaoke deal, and he was just like, not exactly one of my better times, but it's like, yeah, because I mentioned before, he had one of those songs that can be very difficult to sing, but at the same time, he did what he could. And like I said, he got like the third best ovation of that night. So, but I will also mention this, that at ACW's 6th anniversary show, they did announce some of the guests that will be at this upcoming year's Water City Wrestling Con. And literally, of course, I'm there at the commentary table thinking like, well, who do they got? First thing I hear is just the familiar music of Melina. So it's one of those things where like, okay, you're telling me that I'm going to see Melina again in about a matter of a few months. Okay, I'm totally down for this. I even said that to her. I said, looking forward to, getting the chance to see you again. It's going to be awesome. Great. The next person that they announced to be a part of it was, I'm the Boogeyman. I'm coming to get you.
Yes.
I was literally like, yes, I love this. I want to just take a picture with him just so I could send it to Will and say like, hey, bro, it's your favorite wrestler.
And then I'll get a picture with Kelly and send it to Agent Cooper.
Yes. It's all coming full circle. 2020 is going to be the year of annoyance for so many people. The next guest that they announced for it was going to be Mr. Damn himself, Ron Simmons, will be a part of that. Love it. Then they started playing a unique theme song, and I'm just kind of like, what's going on here? And then as soon as somebody told me who it was, I'm like, oh, these guys. The Insane Clown Posse is going to be at Wrestling Con this upcoming year. But then they announced their big, the big ticket bidder, the big breadwinner for the entire deal. It's going to be Hiabuta Reza Ramon. So Scott Hall is going to be at Water City Wrestling Con in Oshkosh come April 18th, I believe it is. I'll definitely have to, I should have wrote that down, but it's happening in April. It's going to be on a Saturday. And I'll tell you this right now. First, second, and third rows have already been sold out. So for those that are hoping to get, maybe fourth row, possibly. Actually, fourth row is almost sold out too. I think it's at like 69.1% sold out from what one person said it was. So all that's going to be left is general admission. And I just remember thinking to myself, this this will be one of those things where I'm just thankful I didn't get a chance to get the front row deal. I mean, it would be great to, be a part of that show, but I got some of the best seats in the house for that. So, a lot of stuff going on here in Wisconsin come 2020. That's going to be crazy. But yeah, it's not over from that. But, all right, so let's get into stuff that Fretz and I can both talk about this stuff. So, actually, first off, I didn't even get a chance to mention this, but we actually had some releases from WWE earlier this week. We had the releases of Luke Harper, as well as the Ascension, and I'm trying to remember. Gosh, who? There was one more in there. I'm trying to remember who was the final one.
Sin Cara, Hunico.
Oh, that's right, Hunico. That's right. Yeah, all of them have been granted their releases, and in all honesty, guys, I'm really bummed out about that because so many people are going to be thinking, oh, they're going to just go straight to AEW or Impact Wrestling. I mean, why not? They're probably going to be utilized a lot better. I mean, Luke Harper, former Intercontinental Champion, definitely one of the most talented big men that you'll see in wrestling today. The Ascension were the tag team of NXT, just dominating for so long. They were the longest reigning tag team champions for the longest time, and then they just got squashed as immediately as they got called up. And then Sin Cara, all honesty, he had like an up and down kind of deal there. I mean, Hunico definitely took over and made the Sin Cara character a lot better after the original Sin Cara Mystico left. In all honesty, he had like a Zack Ryder deal where it was like, oh, he's going to get pushed, and then no. And it's like, oh, he's getting pushed, no. So, best of luck to these guys in their future endeavors, and I'm very, very interested in seeing where they go and what kind of, is in the future for them. Some people are thinking AEW. In all honesty, I could probably see Harper going to AEW, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it. Because I think that there's so many other places that he could go and be just absolutely great. Honestly, Luke Harper in Japan, that would be great. That would be amazing. Hunico, he probably could go to AAA and he would still be super over. The Ascension, I think I see them doing a lot of like independent deals and stuff like that. But I think that they are just like one really good, maybe character change away from being one of the best tag teams in the independent scene. But that's just my opinion on that. But Fretz, I kind of want to know your thoughts on on these releases that WWE has had.
Well, I didn't know the Ascension were still employed by WWE. I thought they got released like 2 years ago. But it's a bummer. I mean, they were not only they were the longest reigning NXT tag champs, they were kind of the grandfathers, the forefathers of the NXT tag division as it's known today. I mean, if you look at, I was looking at the first ever takeover from 5 years ago this month, I think, actually.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, Sami Zayn wrestled Cesaro in a classic. KO made his debut against, he was CJ Parker, but who is he? Juice, against Juice.
Oh,
Juice
okay.
Robinson.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Now I remember that now.
And I also remember, I'm just going through, wow, this is my short retro review. Mojo Rawley had a match, I forget who it was against, maybe it was like Raul Mendoza or something, we'll get to him. And, was it Neville and somebody? I forget, but I know KO made his debut in that one.
Actually, I think that KO made his debut a little later on. But I do remember. I think the first quote unquote takeover. Well, actually, it was like NXT Arrival or something like that. I think the first main event for that was Bo Dallas versus Neville for the NXT title in that ladder match.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Bo Dallas, I think he was one of the longest reigning NXT champions, which is funny now. But Luke Harper, well, this is a bit of bias because Luke Harper is one of my favorite celebrity Maple Leafs fans, other than Mike Myers, and I think Jim Carrey might be too. But yeah, a whole bunch of cool ones. Will Arnett, there's another cool one for you. Yeah, every other display picture I see with Luke Harper, him and his kids are either wearing a Leafs jersey or a Penguins jersey, and well, I can't hate the Penguins because Sidney Crosby is a Canadian hero. Golden Goal 2010, look it up. Who was it? And then Hunico was in the WWE for like 10 years. I mean, if you count his stint in FCW, he had a brief stint as Hunico with Camacho, who I think is one of Haku's kids in Japan.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that they were a thing.
Yeah, they come out on that big stupid bike.
It's like the pre-skull Undertaker bike where they're trying to look badass, but it's like no, just the only thing I was missing was a little bell on there. I'm pretty sure they actually incorporated a bell because
There was a bell.
Yep.
I was gonna go like ching ching, bicycle.
And
I forgot Hunico was still there, but maybe you said he'd be going to Mexico. I would personally kind of like to see a feud with Mystico.
Ooh, relive that. Honestly, it was one of the better feuds that Mystico had in WWE. Was when they had Hunico doing the Sin Cara Negro and Sin Cara Azul. I thought that was actually really good. And then they had that mask versus mask match, which was awesome. And it was one of the few times where we saw Mystico actually hit his finisher, that like tilty whirly armbar deal, to perfection.
It's because he was in the ring with someone he can speak Spanish with and understand and not botch. Well, unlike his feud with Alberto Del Rio, where he dislocated his finger and then Del Rio's just like, F it, and just keeps pumping the crap out of him. I'm going to miss Luke Harper the most out of all these guys. The Ascension, once they got to the main roster, I stopped. I didn't really care for them on NXT, to be honest, but once they got to the main roster and started doing this Rob Conway I Hate Legends gimmick, they were DOA, and not the DOA that were bikers with crushing chains.
No, I definitely do agree with that. Like we said, hopefully there's something good for them in their future endeavors, and I'm looking forward to seeing what their next chapter does. So before we go into our first commercial break, I definitely wanted to bring this up because this has been kind of a rounding issue for quite a while. The fact that, there's all of these great wrestlers that get overtaken because of who they're in a relationship with. And the one person right now that seems to really be hurting the most, or really, I think, affecting the most, is the one and only Chelsea Green. She's definitely had some people kind of doing like the whole woo 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 chanting, Zach We Want Ryder deal, stuff like that during her matches. And there was a point where she actually went on social media and she basically just said, stop. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, so she's engaged, to Zack Ryder, which is awesome, but it seems like that's the only thing that they are really, that's like the only thing that they're really thinking that, she's good at. She's like, that's the only reason why she's famous. I literally took her tweet, retweeted it, and I made this comment. I just said, need I remind you that this is the woman who wrestled in a wedding dress, redefined the term hot mess, did a Canadian destroyer to Pentagon Jr., whoever it may be, and literally killed it in the first All-In show. And I'm literally just like, I'm honestly hoping that she, she succeeds. And I really think that she could be a key player in NXT. I know that one of the reasons why she's not been featured on TV as often was because she was out with that wrist injury, and she had to get surgery on it. But she is back to full health. She has been doing a lot of like dark matches and stuff like that for NXT. And there's even tweets of her saying, like, I think she's like tagging NXT, and she's basically saying, hey, put me in, coach. I'm ready to go. And I'm just like, yeah, put her in. I want to see Chelsea Green on my NXT television deal. I mean, I get it. But this is the problem that the Performance Center and that NXT has right now, is that now they're clogged up with so many people that they're not even using. I mean, so many people that people love. I mean, when I heard that Killshot was getting signed to the Performance Center, I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Is he going to be on NXT? I haven't seen him. Heard that Robbie E was going to be a part of the Performance Center. Great. Is he going to be in NXT? Again, haven't seen him. There's like certain people that you really wanted to see, but they're not really being utilized because they think that this person has more charisma or this person has the it factor that they're looking for. When in reality, it's like, well, I still want to see, Shane Strickland, a.k.a. Killshot, on my screen. I still would love to see Robbie E on my screen, who is honestly gotten more and more entertaining as years gone by. And honestly, probably the only reason why I watched Grimm's Toy Show for a long time was just to see Robbie E just literally just go crazy and just go absolute bananas on everybody that he competed against. It's like, you know what? This is why wrestling can be funny. Wrestling can be entertaining. And his whole deal where he was freaked out with the first incarnation of Crazy Steve, when he was like a literal clown, where he's just like, I don't like clowns. Clowns scare me. And Steve is just doing like the whole horn at him, and you just see Robbie just hamming it up, just like, no, get it away. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, why is this guy not on TV? He could be like one of those super entertaining guys. In all honesty, I would have figured they would have feuded, had he stuck with like that original gimmick that he had, the what was it? The Jersey Shore gimmick that he had, where he had where he had that manager Cookie, the parody of Snooki. I was honestly looking at that and I'm thinking to myself, I would kind of love to see Zack Ryder and Robbie E feud in the future, because that would have been kind of awesome. You had the Long Island Ice Z versus the guy who looks almost exactly like that, and there was even like a Twitter exchange where people were like, oh man, they're ripping off Zack Ryder's deal, they're ripping off Jim. It's like, yeah, because parodies are funny in wrestling, and Robbie E did a great job of doing that, where he was doing like the spray tan deal, he spiked his hair up, did the glasses deal. It was great. But again, basically what I'm getting at is that the Performance Center is getting too big, and I'm guaranteeing that there's so many people that are like, there's not that much room to work here. And you know why? Because Vince McMahon is scared of these guys getting picked off by AEW or Impact Wrestling, and it's kind of one of those things where you're just like, well, okay, but can you at least have them do something for once instead of just sitting in the Performance Center training for absolutely no reason? I mean, in all honesty, they're probably losing money than anything. They could be doing something great. We probably could have Shane Strickland, aka Killshot, over in Impact Wrestling, killing it. Do you see what they're doing with Willie Mack and Rich Swann? It's absolutely great. You see what they're doing in Japan? Frick. Honestly, Shane Strickland in Japan would be absolutely amazing right now. Or even have him overseas over in England. Have him do something like that. You have Robbie E. He could be an entertaining guy. You could have put him in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. He probably would have been one of the biggest guys over there. So it's very frustrating to see that the reason why so many of these people are getting frustrated with wrestling is because they're not being able to utilize stuff. And that's because WWE decides, we don't want people to have these toys. We want to just keep these toys to ourselves. We're going to put them in a closet. We're going to lock them up. Maybe sometimes we'll bring them out and play with them. But for right now, we're going to make sure that nobody else gets these toys. And it's really stupid.
Yeah, NXT is a little bit bloated. In a way, it has benefited from having the extra hour and being live. Like, when was the last time anyone saw Raul Mendoza and he was on the show this week? And I'm looking at some people who are in the PC, and one guy that stands out because the Kings of the Rings podcast would sing their praises all the time is Austin Theory. The former Evolve champion he was the guy that I was trying to figure out who was spotted in the crowd in Toronto. And he gets spotted in the crowd in Toronto, and everyone's just like, who? And if this was TakeOver like New York, if this was at the Barclays Center would have went crazy because Evolve being a New York-based show promotion, and I think there's a lot of the guys that are there. They're learning their craft. I mean, this isn't this isn't the Indies. This is the WWE, and you have people there. You're in promo class for a while, then you're refining your gimmick. You're you're working off stuff in the ring, and I understand the frustration completely. I mean, Raw, I'll dare say Raw and SmackDown are pretty bloated too. Like, we saw friggin' Mojo Rawley was on Raw this week. When was the last time Mojo Rawley was on Raw? Probably WrestleMania after that stupid broken mirror friggin' vignette. But I'll give that. I know we're not talking a lot about Raw and SmackDown. You're still not watching Raw, right?
I mean, I've watched, like, the highlight videos and stuff like that, so I guess you could say I'm still kind of watching the product, but I'm not going to go full on, like, watch an entire episode. Honestly, WWE has literally had this deal where it's like, Raw in 3 minutes. It's like, I'll just take this over watching Raw and SmackDown in entirety.
Did you just say 3 minutes?
Oh, man.
3 minutes over... Oh, no. No, but if I must comment, though, I kind of liked Seth Rollins' heel turn. I kind of dug it.
Had he turned?
Yeah, I know. But it's a fresh start for Seth, and I just loved that he was sitting in the back of this friggin' van. It looked like a boat seat that they ripped off of my dad's fishing boat. In the back, he's there in the hoodie, and I'm just like, dude, I know it's you. Like, Kevin Owens tried to grab him. Dude, I know it's you. AOP's gonna come. Yep. At least he's a heel. I'll give it that, and that's my Raw review, because I forget most of what I saw anyways. I was paying more attention to our friggin' group chat. Right.
Yeah, honestly, I will say this, that it's absolutely fun continuing to hear shout-outs to our friends, Rachel and Kayla, who just absolutely make, those chats just absolutely fun and amazing. They do a great job. I mean, I know Kayla's, having fun with her kid, and Rachel has been, having fun with her, new relationship, as well as the queen, her kitty, who is honestly one of the best things about that chat is just whenever she just takes that picture of her cat. It's like, the queen has arrived. It's one of those things like, oh boy, business has just picked up.
By God, the queen scratched her. The queen scratched her. First blood match is over. By God, get well soon, Rachel. She just had her wisdom teeth out, and I know that's like it hurts. So lots of ice cream. Speaking of which, I just had a bowl of eggnog ice cream. Oh my God.
Yum, 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 yum. So while we're enjoying the great thing that is ice cream, as well as just everything that's delicious, we're going to take a little quick break, and then when we come back, it's going to be time for us to talk about the Wednesday Wars. We're going to talk about NXT and AEW. And honestly, guys, you can bask in the glory that is Wednesday night. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is King Ricky Rose, your co-general manager of Wrestle Addict Radio and your host of Kings of the Rings podcast. And if you enjoy what you listen to each and every week here on Wrestle Addict Radio, we invite you to enjoy even more content from us on our exclusive Patreon page, where for just $5 a month, that's right, $5 a month, you get bonus content and commentary from each and every show here on Wrestle Addict Radio. That means bonus content from the Kings of the Rings podcast, from Not Your Mama's Soap Opera, from Fourth Wall WrestleCast, from the Gipta podcast, and from the Game Changer WrestleCast. So for $5 a month, go to patreon.com/Wrestle Addict Radio, sign up. You get exclusive content, exclusive access to us pretty much 24/7, and exclusive shows that can only be found and are exclusive to Patreon. So again, folks, patreon.com/Wrestle Addict Radio, $5 a month, all the content that you could ever want in wrestling. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, it's the Princess of Pro Wrestling, SoCal Val. You are listening to the Game Changer podcast. Sending lots of love from California. Mwah.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, what would I do without SoCal Val, in all honesty? And I can tell you guys this, that before the year's over, you are going to hear that lovely voice of SoCal Val on this show with probably in the next couple of weeks. So, a little cheap plug for that, and it's going to be awesome. So, welcome back to the Game Changer podcast, a part of Wrestle Addict Radio. Of course, you can check us out at addict_wrestle, and you can check out all the great podcasts that are a part of the family. We will still promote these guys, even though they're going to be leaving us. Mance over at Gipta Podcast, DFDC, Jeff Pamaccio, the Kings of the Ring, and the Fourth Wall WrestleCast, you guys. It's going to be a very interesting 2020 to see where this kind of goes into. And honestly, I actually do have one more thing I wanted to cover, because one thing that actually did happen this past weekend as well was the Wrestling Podcast Awards. I did almost forget about mentioning that. And I'm going to say, like, right now, major props go out to Ant for putting in all the time and the effort of the skits, as well as being that, host to just do that kind of stuff. Absolutely great. Unfortunately, you guys, WrestleAddict Radio did not come out with a victory, but hey, we got some nominations, so that was great. Now, with that being said, I do have one thing I have to nitpick about. And I know people are going to hate me for this, but at the same time, it's got to be said. So, one thing I definitely did notice is that, the Laps fan was the major winner from this year. So, congratulations to the Laps fan. Great job on basically dominating the awards this year. But one thing I was kind of a little peeved about was that 2 of the awards were taken over by a certain somebody who felt a little bit fancy. You can call him Le Champion, if we know, and that is indeed Chris Jericho. Talk is Jericho did take 2 awards the past week, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't really get that, because I get it, Talk is Jericho is absolutely great, and I got the chance to listen to that Enzo and Enzio and Cass XL podcast that you were talking to me about, and it is really good, definitely worth listening to. I also got to listen to one with Brandy Rhodes, which is honestly a really interesting one. It kind of talks about the relationship she had with Dusty, her time in WWE. That was a really great one. It was before All Out, so that was a really good listen. But why do I have a problem with this? It's because Jericho is not really going to listen to this kind of stuff, and he's got other things to do. Why have these major podcasts that are already famous when you could be promoting something that could probably deserve a lot more recognition? Is my deal. I'm not saying throwing shade at the Jericho Talk is Jericho deal. Like I said, he puts on great shows. At the same time, like I said, he doesn't need to really be in this. There's so many other people that definitely deserve the notoriety, the recognition of that. I was definitely pulling for Jeff Pamaccio's matrimonial soap opera to kind of win this year, for the solo one. There's probably some other people that definitely deserve that as well, but they got overlooked by Chris Jericho. And it's kind of one of those things where, like I said, he's already famous. He doesn't need that kind of recognition. People already know who he is. And then they had the John Moxley interview as the winner. Again, he's already doing great podcasts. He's already doing great interviews. There could be somebody else who probably could have earned that right, just as Chris Jericho did. Some people who have interviewed people like, maybe like a Noel Foley or a Mick Foley, or maybe they got the chance to talk to somebody in WWE, stuff like that. Honestly, some of the best interviews that I've heard have come from Saul Monster Sounds Off, because he's got the chance to interview Katrina from Lucha Underground. He's gotten the chance to interview Hardcore Holly. Some really great interviews there. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, why don't we look at some of these people that actually could get the right to, have this kind of deal, have this kind of, this notoriety and have this kind of exposure, instead of going to the people that already have this exposure. It's one of those things. It's just me. I'm nitpicking about it. That's the only thing that I had an issue with. Other than that, I thought the podcast awards were great.
Yeah, they were very good. I thoroughly enjoyed all of Ant's skits. I'm kind of with you on the Chris Jericho thing. Like, I completely understand. And if I may here, I think I just want to thank everyone who even, nominated, myself, nominated Nate, nominated WrestleAddict Radio, Fretzlemania, like my solo show, which I do like once a month, if that, was nominated for one. Thanks for that. And I'm not in this to gain notoriety or get famous or get awards. Awards are nice, very, very, very nice. I'm in it to talk about wrestling because I love wrestling. It's given me the chance to build a community, to make friends with people all over the world, like all you guys. Like, I'm all the way up here and everyone's all the way. I think the one that lives the furthest away, well, that'd have to be Martin, because he's on the other side of the ocean. Shout out to Martin. And and to me this is a hobby. And getting, if I got something out, getting something, award out of it is nice, but it's not everything in the world to me. But I'm hopeful for something someday. And as I said, it's a hobby. The day this becomes more than a hobby is the day I might have to take a step back and just, I love this, and I love the awards. Ant is absolutely hilarious. I mean, him and Kyle and Brad and that friggin' Ranta Claus skit beforehand. Like, I saw it right after they did it because I'm in their group chat as well on their Patreon. Once they started singing Creed, I'm like, I have a coworker who loves Creed, and we have this inside joke, and I would just I can text him right 10:30. Yeah, he's probably in bed. I could text him right now and be like, need some Creed? No context, that's it. And I'll tell my coworkers, hey, next time you see Derek, just say, hey, you need some Creed? Because we used to work, some late shifts, and we would put Creed on the speaker at work, and then go to the bar and tie one on and sing Creed the whole way. It's fun. Yeah, wrestling podcasts. Yeah, I would love to see more unknown. I don't want to use that. You know what I mean. I don't want to use that term, but lesser known podcasts out there.
Yeah.
Like they said, hey, nominate, boom. And once the nominations are out, and I'm thinking of people that I wanted to nominate myself, I'm like, okay, I didn't want to nominate myself, so I'm like, okay, Cultaholic, because they do Classic Raw Review, they do their weekly podcast with Matthew. They kill it. They kill it, but they're also a bit more notoriety. I would put I wouldn't put Attitude Era podcast up there, but they've been around for 5 or 6 years. But a little bit less notoriety, and Leafs just scored, yay.
Right. Honestly, I probably would have put Ruthless Aggression to get nominated, and they definitely deserved it, especially after the whole point out the cat during Backlash 2003.
Yes. I was going to say which one, because there's 2 Ruthless Aggressions, and they're both funny. The one in the UK.
I'm sorry, just the one with the cat. I love that. I even got like a response from them when I mentioned that. It was awesome. So I think that I definitely want to highlight some of their stuff more often and get a chance to listen to their show. But that's just awesome. All right, so we've talked enough about that. Let's talk about NXT and AEW, which, in all honesty, this is kind of interesting, is that the results, are all said and done, and the ratings actually came in, and they were actually tied this week. Yep.
Exactly tied?
Apparently,
how close?
They were exactly tied. I think it was like 478,000 viewers on each of them. So, in honesty, it was kind of one of those things where it was kind of awesome. I will say this, that that Joey Janela actually made a comment about that whole deal, where he basically. Where he, I think he makes a comment where he says something along the lines of oh man, there's this whole tie deal, but at the same time, AEW was so good that I literally said this made me horny, so AEW takes the victory. Something along the lines of that, which I'm like, Joey, that's disgusting, but that's also very funny. So.
If your all elite erection lasts more than 4 hours, please go to the doctor.
Also, join Dark Order.
I almost spat my gear out.
I'm sorry. I had to.
I love the Dark Order so much now.
Oh man, just their promo stuff is awesome. And hey, we get one in the show, but we'll get into that a little later. Let's talk about NXT. We kicked off with a Cruiserweight Championship matchup. Angel Garza versus Lio Rush. And honestly, these guys literally killed it. They did a fantastic job. It really showcased what the Cruiserweight division was all about. Some great back and forth action. A couple things that kind of stood out to me was a very beautiful dual kick combination that they kind of did. They did to each other. Angel Garza hit a kick, and then Lio Rush hit a kick on Garza, and then they kind of both just went on the ropes, do like this, like almost like they're trying to punch each other, but then they both just fall flat. That was awesome. Honestly, it seemed like Lio Rush was going to pick up the victory after hitting the frog splash, but Garza was able to just roll out of the ring. As he's rolling out, Lio Rush is just grabbing the pants, and the pants are just slipping off because, why the hell not at this point? But Lio Rush decides to capitalize. He goes to the top rope. He goes for another splash on Garza. Garza is able to get his knees up this time, throws him into the ring. He hits the wing clipper for a very near 3 count, but then Garza decides to grab him into a reverse full Nelson. Lio Rush taps out. Garza is your new Cruiserweight champion. In all honesty, it was a really good matchup. Like I said, it was a great demonstration of the Cruiserweights, and in all honesty, Garza is definitely going to be a new face that people are going to be very interested in seeing, and I think that there were a lot of people that were pretty shocked that he's got the belt up right now, but it was an absolutely awesome deal. But the celebration for him did not just stop there. Oh, no. During the break, they revealed that Angel Garza, he was in the crowd and he was talking about that there were four things that he cared about the most. He cares about the ring. He cares about the NXT. He called it the WWE NXT universe. He cares about his family, and he also cares about his girlfriend, whom he brought into the ring. And I assumed he said this in complete Spanish. He basically proposed to his girlfriend, who had a resounding yes, even though fans were chanting "Sí, sí, sí." It was an awesome deal. So congratulations to Garza and to your fiance. Absolutely, it was a beautiful moment. It was kind of one of those things where I remember Batista actually did something like that at WrestleMania 21 after he won the world title, where he's going to the backstage. People are just congratulating him. He and his wife, they're just happy, and he literally got down on one knee and gave his wife Angie at the time a proper proposal, because the first time that they got married, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, hey, do you want to maybe just get married or something like that? And it was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. They go to like a courthouse, and that was kind of it. So he felt like he wanted to give his wife a proper proposal. So he kind of did, and it was in front of so many people. And for superstars that do that take a big moment that could be put on them and make it all about somebody that they really love, that is just absolutely awesome. So, again, major congratulations to our new Cruiserweight champion, Mr. Angel Garza, and also to him on the recent engagement to his now fiance. Awesome way to start off the show. It's kind of hard to top that.
That was great. I was very, very surprised to see Angel Garza get the title here, and it makes me think that Garza was in that. What was that tournament that they had? And they had the finals at a dark match at Toronto. The
Young Guns, the Breakout Star tournament or something like that.
The Breakout one, and wasn't that not won by ACH?
Oh yeah. Do we even want to touch that? The fact
nope.
that okay.
Nope. You know what? Kings of the Rings, they did it very well, and King Ricky, him being a therapist, is he? Or psychiatrist, something like that. He's a psychology major, so he was able to dissect it psychologically, and and I thought that this would have been his spot had shit not hit the fan and other stuff. But I'm perfectly fine with Garza in this spot. I love the pants gimmick. I'm sold. I love the pants thing now. It's like he's finding different ways to get out of it. Now I'm just like, okay, what you must do now is take off your tights without taking off your pants. It's that bit with Krusty the Clown's like, well, or the little Grandpa Simpson's like, well, if I ever don't know, if I'm not sure of something, I'll just check my underwear. Call me Abraham Simpson. Grandpa, how'd you take off your underwear without taking off your pants? I don't know. Yeah, only here you're going to get me going off on obscure references.
Awesome.
Oh, boy. Yeah, the wing clipper, though, to me, it kind of looks like... Do you remember that move Shane Douglas, take two, did called the Franchiser, where he would kind of do... what's that neck snap thing, where you just grab the guy's neck and you just snap it back? Like Jeff Hardy does a sit-down version of it. I can't think of what it looks like. Basically, it looks like an a variation of the atomic drop, but...
Okay.
Garza makes it look good. He makes it look all right. And then transitioning into that submission was vicious. Like, I'm game. And I'm already looking... I know this is kind of weird, but when guys win titles, I'm already looking forward to what their first feud or their eventual title-ending feud is going to be. Because I love... and I'm like JC Bones. I love booking ahead and fantasy booking things. Like, Garza versus... Okay, if we get Worlds Collide, like Garza versus the QB Buzzsaw, who we saw later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Or even a guy like Ilya Dragunov, but I want Dragunov versus Dijakovic. I want it. Give me what I want, Regal. I tweeted you. Do it. You too, Johnny State. I didn't forget about you, and while I have it in my head, don't you forget about Keith.
I was actually going to ask you, did Regal ever get back to you on that?
No, I probably got blocked.
You might want to double check.
It's like Ryback. He went on a mass blocking spree, but that's because people were calling him an asshole. Yeah, if you call me one, I'll block you too. Don't call him out and be like, yeah, I was right, Ryback, you're a loser. Oh, wrestling Twitter sucks ass.
Sometimes. There's other times where you could actually can be well liked. I mean, there's a lot of people that say like, oh, I'm going on a date or something like that. I'm just like, have fun. It's like, just 2 words. Nothing negative, only encouragement. And I got a like for that, and I don't even know the person. It's like, yeah, I mean, if people want to go out and want to tell us that, hey, some good's happening in their life, go for it. I'm kind of like Deadpool, where what was it? Where Peter just showed up, and it's like, oh, I don't really have that much experience, but I could do blah 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 blah. And he's just like, you're in. It's just not even kidding. Oh man. So we got a nice. We actually got one of 2 hype packages for the NXT Women's Championship match for next week. I actually really liked this one with Shayna Baszler, because she mentions this idea that you could tell somebody by the car that they drive, and she introduces her Ford Mustang, which I'm just like, oh, I love it. And she even compared to the wrestling, where she was saying, all people love like these Ferraris and stuff like that, where they're all doing like all these cool tricks and blah 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 blah. Me, I'm kind of like a classic one. I kind of like this. I'm like, oh my god, she literally just compared cars to professional wrestling. I am starting to become more of a fan of Shayna Baszler right now. I'm not full on board the Baszler train, but at the same time, she's got a Mustang. She respects it. She compared cars to wrestling in the best way. I like it. I dig it. It was awesome. Then we get a nice promo deal where Balor talks about, the triple threat match, where he talks about how he actually breaks down, Keith Lee and Tommaso Ciampa. He talks about the fact that, I was the longest reigning NXT champion, and that his future is going to be, his past is going to be his present. It was basically like the key thing that they brought out of this with Finn Balor, which in all honesty, I kind of dig. I kind of understand that. He mentioned the whole deal about him being Intercontinental Champion and the first Universal Champion, which honestly he never got a proper run with. What the fuck? But he mentioned that his major success in NXT was something that he really relishes, that he really enjoys, and honestly, it's great to see him back in NXT. Well deserved. So we got more of this from Keith Lee as well as from Tommaso Ciampa, but we'll get more into that a little later. Mr. Fretz, I think I'll pass it over to this one because this next matchup is kind of interesting, and you mentioned this, gentleman, a couple times before we even got to this.
Yeah, we have Cameron Grimes here going up against Raul Mendoza, and now that we have characters named Grimes and Mendoza, it allows me to make Simpsons reference number 2 of today's podcast with Grimy, and which is my second favorite episode of all time, Homer's Enemy from season 8. Frank Grimes, this guy that gets hired at the power plant, and Homer drives him nuts because Grimy has worked hard to be successful, and Homer he showed up the day they opened the plant. And Mendoza, well, if you know McBain, Mendoza! And that is Simpsons reference number 2. Yes, this was a rather quick match. I think Cameron Grimes tried to go for that, what's cave-in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That cave-in finisher. I just had to take a listen to him. Like, hope my freezer door isn't open because it sounds like it's running. But I'll go check that in a minute. But yeah, we had Cameron Grimes, and they've had this bit with Kushida, and they had an injury angle throughout the show. Kushida got jumped at the Performance Center, and Raul Mendoza got some momentum because Kushida came out to distract him. And then Mendoza hit a Hurricane Karana for a 3 count. And I think that's his first win on NXT. He's been there for like 5 years.
Yeah, no, it was kind of crazy to see that. After the matchup, we do see Kushida actually steal Cameron Grimes, his little hat that he had. And
Take the hat. Take the hat. I have to step out, bro. You keep covering this. I have to make sure my freezer's good.
No problem. No, that was just a little funny deal. Mia Yim talks about her match with Dakota Kai. She talks about having revenge and putting Dakota Kai in the ambulance. Oh boy, howdy, that's going to be an awesome matchup. Oh, I can tell you, it was. We get a little bit of a preview of the, I guess you could say, War of the Worlds Collide deal, as we have Jackson Riker taking on the Kiwi Buzzsaw Travis Banks. And before the matchup during the matchup, they actually make a Fusion Thunder Liger reference in this matchup because they were talking about the junior heavyweights, and they even mentioned the fact that Liger's going to be having his final matchup soon. They don't mention, Wrestle Kingdom, but they do mention the fact that he's having his final match very soon. So it's kind of those things where like, oh, okay, that's kind of. This is a very hard-hitting, a lot of knee strikes, a lot of tough men just beating the crap out of each other kind of a matchup. During the matchup, Banks actually gets a bit of a cut above his left eye. Sorry. I was trying to pinpoint where it was, but it was just kind of those things where it just kind of came out of nowhere. But that really good matchup between these two. Banks was able to beat Riker with that beautiful. He runs up the top of the turnbuckles and he does this disaster kick to Riker. 1, 2, 3. It's over. Kind of a very quick matchup, kind of like the last one. But in all honesty, it definitely is another deal where it's like, okay, NXT has all this momentum now. I think we got to make a presence here with NXT UK because with when Worlds Collide coming up, got to have a little bit of fun with that. So, yeah, honestly, like I said, short, very hard hitting, and very nice finish where we see Travis Banks pick up the victory.
Yep, that move is called the Slice of Heaven.
That's right.
I remember that from Bleacher Report here, and from my occasional viewing of NXT UK, which TakeOver Blackpool's in a couple of weeks, and friggin' TLC's this Sunday, so we might have to try to predict that. But I know I'm not even watching it. I'm not. Yeah, I'm going to be at work, so I'm not even going to be watching it. But yeah, it was really nice to see some NXT UK involvement here. I'm still waiting on. I would love to see at least do a Four Corners kind of deal where you can have Gallus, Imperium, and then Undisputed Era, and okay, well, I need one more tag team from, you know what, screw it, their main roster, Street Profits. Why not? Because I'm actually really looking forward to Worlds Collide. I am very optimistic about it. I mean, we saw it in Mania TakeOver, and we saw that wicked Dijak versus Harper match. My lord! But yeah, there we go. I'm scrolling through what's next. Dakota Kai. I must say, Dakota Kai looks like she walked out of 1988 in Nakatomi Plaza. Please don't make me explain what that reference is. Google it, kids. Oh, my goodness, that hair. Oh, so good.
I think you're enjoying this so much, I'm giving the floor to you. Talk about this matchup.
My name is Mr. Fretz, and I'm not wearing pants. I mean... hey, basketball shorts aren't pants, dude.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so we have Mia Yim. Dakota Kai calls her hood rat. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, is that offensive? Like, Kings of the Rings play this game, and it's like, is that racist? And I'm like, hood? Well, they called Aladdin a street rat, so okay, I'm gonna say no. If it is, you can definitely hit me up on Twitter, or, better yet, DM me rather than get up all of my grill and my mentions. So Mia Yim's, she's coming in for a fight. Dakota Kai was just striking the crap out of her. She was still wearing her Team Kick gear, and you said something about her entrance music being nothing but, what's her face screaming and
Tegan Knox.
Tron, and Tegan Knox screaming and the Tron being like the heel turn. I just saw like the words Dakota Kai.
Yeah, they got rid of it this week.
That was because I didn't see that last time, so it would have been awesome. And I was just listening to Kings of the Rings while I was closing up at work, and Will, shout out Will, likes to call her Better Bailey. It's like she was kind of like the new, the peppy, happy girl Bailey in NXT, and I'm just like, okay, now that she's badass like this, I want to see like a face-off between Dakota Kai and Izzy. Because Izzy's got that. Now she's. She's not growing up. She's only 15 or something like that. But she's got that. She's trading like her MMA stuff now, so she looks like a badass. Has that the long hair with the shaved bit, the shaved hair bit there. It looks really cool. And we have. Yeah, this match here, she's wearing Team Kick gear, and I'm like, okay, she's definitely taking the piss here, because, I can't wait for this feud now. It made them I was not interested in these two, and now I am. Thank you. So, we have Mia Yim sending into the exposed turnbuckle, because Dakota Kai tried to use the knee brace as a weapon, but the referee was just like, no. And, we have the, basically a no contest here. They brawl into the crowd, and then they get into a little bit of a platform above a tech area, and this bump here, it looked kind of gnarly. Mia Yim did a Saito suplex, or just a back suplex, off of this little platform, guardrail platform above the tech area. But there's these two tables set up like together, and only one table broke. The one right in front of it, and I thought, oh man, if they effed up their heads and their necks here, I wouldn't be shocked. It looked ugly, but it was really, really cool. Oh, it says here, Dakota Kai beats Mia Yim by pinfall. Oh, yeah, it was the exposed turnbuckle spot. Bleacher Report wasn't being very clear here. So, yeah, Kai beat her, but then, they continued to brawl into the crowd, and that's when that Saito suplex spot came out. And, now I'm interested in Mia Yim now, because I didn't know who a lot of these women were. I know a lot of them were in the Mae Young Classic, which I didn't watch the second version of, but I'm loving NXT's women's division now, especially with Kaden Carter, who we see later. Yeah.
in all honesty, it was a really good matchup. I loved the code blue from Mia Yim. I thought that was great. But yeah, after that scary spot you mentioned there, it kind of looked like you hear the fans chanting, one more time, one more time, one more time, and I think that for some reason. It's for some reason I have it in my head like Mia Yim is kind of looking at the crowd, and she's just like, y'all crazy. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you really want me to risk my neck just by doing that again? I don't think so. And I'm like, no, Mia Yim, please, no, don't do that again, because I like what you're doing in this feud, and I like for you to live, please, instead of ending up in a wheelchair or something like that. I don't want that. I'd rather you be alive. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. You definitely hit the nail on the head for that one, my good sir. Then we get Keith Lee. He's talking about the triple threat match, and they'll talk about how Balor and Ciampa will be basking in his glory. Then we get a very interesting tag team matchup. Well, actually, I called it more of a basic tag team match, in which we have Breezango taking on the Singh brothers. And first of all, Breezango as doctors? Okay. I'm not going to criticize. It's just one of those things where I'm just like, well, this is kind of interesting. I never thought that they would actually do something like this. But them going from fashion police to doctors is okay. And then, like, Beth Phoenix made this comment about, like, a full body inspection or something like that. I'm literally thinking to myself, oh, gosh. Oh, Edge, what is going through your mind right now? Except for maybe spear. I'll let you guys paint the picture of that. Like I said, kind of a basic back and forth matchup. A very beautiful Falcon Arrow from the top rope by Fandango. Also, like a really cool Miz and Morrison spot, which, ironically enough, they showed that on WWE Bump, where they had Miz and Morrison kind of have a reunite deal and possibly tease the fact that the Dirt Sheet's coming back. I'd be okay with that. But yeah, Tyler Breeze had one of the Singh brothers on his knees with the catapult deal, and then we see Fandango leaping over the top rope with like an elbow deal, so kind of like how Miz and Morrison used to do that. That was just brutal. But Fandango hits the leg drop for the victory. Breezango are victorious. For me, I loved seeing Breezango back together again. It was great. I liked it. Then we have Rhea Ripley. She talks about the women's championship matchup. They even show like bits and pieces of her at like a radio interview where she's talking about it. Nothing really too... Well, actually, no. They get a little more insight up to what her backstory is kind of, and how she talks about how she's, like done back-to-back Mae Young Classics, how she was the first ever WWE UK Women's Champion. Then they also mentioned the Women's War Games, definitely highlighting the fact that she's been a part of a lot of historic moments, and now she could have the potential to make history again against Shayna Baszler. They kind of hyped that up a bit. It was great. Absolutely loved it. So, Mr. Fretz, I do believe I will leave the floor to you, because honestly, it's kind of one of those things where if I talk about this matchup, I think that Philium will not like me.
If you're going to say that you're not a fan of Bianca Belair, neither am I. Okay. I think Phil and I have already had that understanding. Sorry, Phil. No, but I have to go back to the tag match for just a quick second here, because
sure.
I have been singing the praises of the Singh brothers for a long time. I've said before, listen to their episode on the E&C Pod of Awesomeness, because they took a similar road to Edge as Edge and Christian did. And if you've read Edge's book, or have any of his DVDs, he talks about these things that are called the Canada Death Road Trips or something, where they go through like northern Manitoba and to all these drive across an icy snow-covered lake to get to a lodge to wrestle in front of 12 people. The Singh brothers did the very same thing in a way, and they gained so much of my respect, and they're just so damn entertaining and fun. I love the whole Bollywood boys gimmick, and when I saw Breezango, I'm just like, you guys are like 15 years too late to audition for Grey's Anatomy. And I just discovered that show is still on. My God. So entertaining, and I love Fandango, but bro, top rope leg drop's going to do a number on you when you're in your 40s.
Right.
And we have Bianca Belair versus Kaden Carter. Kaden Carter is a new signee. I think she was called something else. I think if we had Phil on the network here, he is our resident women's wrestling expert. So he'd be able to help me out with who Kaden Carter used to be. Very athletic, gymnastic-like background, I think, but you know what? It was KOD for the 1, 2, 3, and Bianca Belair won, and maybe she's moving up the ranks again. But like Shayna Baszler said, it's like you tapped, and that Ford Mustang. Holy crap!
Mm-hmm. All right, then we get into the main event, but before we even get to that, we get some words from Ciampa, who talks about the triple threat match, and in all honesty, one of the best transitions I have ever seen, where he looks directly at the camera and he just says, "Goldie, this is for you." Goes behind the curtain, and it goes right back to them doing it live in NXT. That was beautiful. So it's the triple threat match to determine the number 1 contender for the NXT Championship for this upcoming week. It's going to be Tommaso Ciampa versus Keith Lee versus Finn Balor. They got the classic deal where they did the introductions. That was great. To start off, oh my gosh, Keith Lee doing a cross-body block on both of these guys over the top rope was just, that was great. They definitely did showcase Keith Lee as kind of the bigger guy to take down and to try and beat him down. To the point where even Ciampa does like this Cactus Jack like clothesline to Keith Lee on the outside. Oh, that was just beautiful. Ciampa back in the ring. He hits the dual second rope DDTs to both Balor and on Balor and Keith Lee. We get this nice spot here where we see an air raid crash with Balor onto Keith Lee. That was just impactful. That was just great. Finn Balor doing his classic foot stomp deal to both Keith Lee as well as to Tommaso Ciampa. Lee doing this deal where he's being dominant. He's doing back body drops. He tosses Balor into Ciampa. That was great. Now, moment of the week for this past week was this moment right here. Tommaso Ciampa decides, hey, I'm going to kind of do what I did to Adam Cole, baby, at NXT TakeOver. He gets Finn Balor up for like this top rope air raid crash. Keith Lee gets under Ciampa. And automatically I'm thinking to myself, oh damn, this is not going to end well. I saw a couple points where there was like a little bit of shakiness to it, but Keith Lee is just holding on, and honestly, it's a spot that is still scary to this point. Even after like less than 12 hours watching it, they do the air raid crash with the electric chair drop. Oh, poor Balor. I feel bad for Balor, but that was just a scary, great moment. Lee would hit his, what I call the Jackhammer 2.0 on Tommaso Ciampa. He tries to do the same thing to Finn Balor, but he's able to escape out of it. We were going to see the Spirit Bomb by Mr. Keith Lee, but Finn Balor is able to counter it into the double foot stomp. My God, Tommaso Ciampa with a busted neck. How he has this strength, I have no idea. He's able to hit the air raid crash on Keith Lee for a very near 3 count. Oh, that was just absolutely crazy. We get back into it. Keith Lee's able to hit his Spirit Bomb, but as he goes down, and they really had a really amazing camera angle where Finn Balor is just waiting in the corner. He is just ready to strike. As soon as Keith Lee puts down Ciampa with that bomb, here comes Finn Balor. Coup de grace on Keith Lee. 1, 2, 3. Balor is your number 1 contender and will face Adam Cole for the NXT Championship this upcoming week at... Honestly, it's not even a takeover. It's just an NXT taping. I have to remember that. So, the 2 matches that they have been promoting for next week are Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship and Finn Balor versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. This was just an awesome triple threat matchup. Before we get into predictions about these 2 matches, Mr. Fretz, how'd you survive this matchup?
Barely. I was on the edge edge of my seat, but I always am when it comes to NXT, especially with Keith Lee. Don't you forget about Keith. My goodness, that spot at the end with the coup de grace was c'est coup de grace et magnifique. I'm a little surprised it was Balor. I mean, I thought we would get Keith Lee, but this is going to lean right into my prediction, but I think we're going to see the return of one Johnny Gargano.
You know, in all honesty, that would be absolutely fantastic, and I'd be totally down for that. So let's go into some quick predictions for these two matches that are coming up here. So, Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler. Mr. Fretz, who have you got?
Rhea Ripley. It's time. And it's been rumor and innuendo for a while now that Shayna Baszler is going to come up to the main roster, and I think she'll either debut just after New Year's on Raw and take out Becky Lynch and win the title from her, or go into the Royal Rumble, but there are already, I don't buy these, but early dirt sheet betting odd predictions that the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble is going to actually be Ronda Rousey. But if that means we get Ronnie versus... screw Ronnie versus Becky. I want Ronnie versus Baszler at Mania.
In all honesty, that could happen. That could very much happen. But at the same time, I know they did this whole deal on Total Divas where it's like, Ronda's, giving up, WWE to be a parent, blah, blah, blah. She could very well be with child within the next few months. Who knows at this point? But yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna say we probably won't see like a surprise deal with Ronda Rousey, but at the same time, I think my betting odds would be more on Shayna Baszler winning the Royal Rumble this upcoming year, and that is why I'm in agreement with you. I say Rhea Ripley takes the title. In all honesty, Shayna Baszler has done her job. She's beaten everybody. And it's time for her to move on to, I can't really say greener pastures, but in all honesty, I think it's time for her to go up to the main roster and legitimize it. I think that's the best way to put it. We also have the NXT Championship. Like I said, Finn Balor versus Adam Cole. Cole's not leaving without that championship. I'm sorry. I do not see that happening. We've been talking about this for a while. I do still see them doing Cole versus Ciampa at Mania weekend. You definitely hinted at that. I'm definitely fully on board for that. It would be kind of interesting to see Balor win the title. Maybe have, Balor and Keith Lee at the next TakeOver, and then maybe Balor versus Ciampa at the TakeOver in WrestleMania weekend. But at the same time, what they're doing with Cole is great, and I think that they need to find ways to start, dissecting the whole deal where Undisputed Era has all the titles and stuff like that and blah, blah, blah. So I don't think that Cole's leaving without the bout. And honestly, I will also say this, that we actually ended the show with all 4 members of the Undisputed Era up on the rampway. So it's really nice to see Bobby Fish back.
Yeah, and I was, when you were going through that, I'm just like, I just had a thought just like flash, like, right before me. I thought, okay, I'm picking Adam Cole. Obviously, but just fantasy book here for a second. Bear with me.
Yep.
JC Bones, I got your book in the mail. Your fantasy book. So Balor wins the title, and then afterwards, lights go out. Like Balor celebrating, lights go out. In the ring, Gargano, and we see brawl exchange, blah 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 blah. And hypothetically, let's say that Worlds Collide isn't happening Royal Rumble weekend; it's a takeover, or screw it, takeover out west. I forget where, near where John Ritland. You're near there. Shout out John Ritland and the Dervinator. They do good work. And then Gargano wins the title there, and then finally we get the climax of Tommaso Gargano, NXT title. It has to be a major stipulation, like not loser leaves or Like, they'll call it like the end of an era match. One of the last time, and then you do it the following year at WrestleMania. Triple H Undertaker. And then that's where Gargano wins and finally gets that Gargano stuff away. But I sincerely think that we're going to see that feud go on again after Tommaso wins the title from Adam Cole.
I'm okay with that. Guys, we're going to take a little quick break before we talk about All Elite Wrestling. And, yeah, in all honesty, more brighter things are happening. In all honesty, 2020 looks really great for All Elite Wrestling, and we'll tell you guys why that is in just a bit. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm NateFNGreat. You know what's really fun, you guys, is just spending some time creating wrestling moments, whether it's being in the crowd, cutting promos, or just really kind of beating each other up with a chair or a trash can. Well, let's just say that there's a safer way to doing that without using an actual chair or a trash can. Go over to Great Minds Revolution Incorporated. My buddy Kurt has actually created a very safe and fun way to be a wrestling fan without the necessary lawsuits of basically beating each other up with real stuff. He has an inflatable chair that is really fun to just whack around, and it could also double as a little floaty for a pool. He also has the inflatable trash can, which, you guys, is really awesome because let's say maybe you don't want to use it for wrestling matches. You could use it at your barbecue, your next big tailgate party, whatever you could think of. Great Minds Revolution, Inc. They do a great job on making wrestling fun again. Proud friends of the Game Changer podcast.
What up, fam? It's your boy, JC Bones, the host of the Fourth Wall WrestleCast, and you are making a change because you're listening to the Game Changer podcast, only on Wrestle Addict Radio.
In all honesty, I think that us dropping the music is actually working out better because we're getting more time to just talk about stuff. Welcome back, guys, to the Game Changer podcast. I'm Nate. He's Fretz. Let's get All Elite. And honestly, let's just get this right out of the way. They already made the announcement during the show that All Elite Wrestling is going to be coming back to the Chicago area for Revolution. That'll be taking place on February 29th, from what I remember. It's going to be happening during the C2E2 weekend, so they actually have a little bit of competition. But at the same time, it also gets people hyped up for that. So it's honestly going to be absolutely great. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I look at the lineup also that they have for C2E2. That's gonna be some major tough competition because C2E2 has delivered so many great people, wrestling wise, pop culture wise, to that deal. So it's gonna be interesting. And honestly, I'm very interested in seeing how StarCast competes against C2E2. I'm still going to StarCast regardless. As much as I enjoyed my time with C2E2, StarCast is my bread and butter. But let's talk about AEW. We kicked off with Moxley. He decided to come out. Let me put it like this. It's basically going to be a t-shirt. Arrive, break a record, leave. That is literally Jon Moxley in a nutshell. Where he just came in, beat a talent, and that was it. And it seemed like he was about to leave when out comes the Inner Circle with Le Champion, Chris Jericho, who I figured it out today because he pointed it out to me. I was thinking to myself, man, Jericho's got an interesting jacket up, but why does it look so familiar? Why does that look so familiar? And then there was a picture that Ant posted up where it was showing him with that jacket. It's like, that's why I remember it now, because it looks the same thing like he'd had at the Rank Gala earlier this year. So it's one of those things where Chris Jericho just stole from Ant's closet, which is really funny now that I think about it. But Jericho, he comes out. He basically talks about the history that him and Moxley have. He even mentions the thumbtack spot that he took, which, in all honesty, is still an awesome moment. But ultimately it involved Jericho inviting Moxley into the Inner Circle. And he said that you don't have to do it tonight. You don't have to do it next week. Take your time. Think about it. Like that. And I've heard people complaining about the fact that, this is just going to be a setup for, for Moxley to basically say screw you to Jericho and he's going to beat up the champion, blah, blah, blah. There's other people that have been saying, well, this would be kind of interesting if, they kind of coax Moxley in, and then Jericho just beats him down. In all honesty, I'm kind of interested in seeing where this angle goes, because with two different angles, you just never know. But I'm kind of interested in seeing what happens here. So, opening to AEW, not as good as, NXT was. I mean, you can't really top a proposal, but at the same time, still a pretty decent opening.
I enjoyed it. This Moxley just jobbing out these two guys like in 2 seconds, and then I loved how Jericho kind of brought up their past. Brought up their feud in WWE. They did say, "Oh yeah, we beat the shit out of each other," and I hit you with a 50-pound thing of something. I forget what he said, and I'm just like, I was waiting for him to say, "Oh, please reference Mitch the Plant. Please, rest in peace, Mitch the Plant." And they referenced their Ambrose Asylum match with all the thumbtacks, which that was pretty damn fun, that match. And Moxley's beating him for the title. I mean, bold prediction. I think Moxley's going to be the guy to beat him for the title. And then, if I can book ahead, MJF is going to be the one to beat almost called him Ambrose. Moxley for the belt, and then that's when you get the loophole for Cody to win it at All Out. But yes, I'm all for this. I'm a big fan of the Inner Circle now. Although yes, I called Angel Garza a Spanish god, not Sammy Guevara. They can both be. They can both be, because I'm starting to turn around on Sammy Guevara. I'm loving him. He's just such a good little prick. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna look at me. I'm gonna the log here while I'm on the top rope doing a shooting star press, super kick."
Oh man, I can honestly say that I never had a bad thing to say about Sammy Guevara, and when I met him, he was still a pretty cool dude. Yeah, they can be Spanish gods in their own right for all we care. All right, so first matchup we have on this card is QT Marshall and Cody taking on the Butcher, the Blade, and in their corner is the Bunny. In all honesty, I do love the fact that they kind of mentioned this idea that, oh, well, Allie got her hair, snipped off by Awesome Kong, so now we see this different kind of deal where she's, got this new transition deal. For me, it's like, I feel like this is more of a Master of the Multiverse kind of situation. And in all honesty, the final episode that they had of season 5, I want to say, kind of shows them leaving this multiverse area where we just see the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny kind of leaving this area. So it's kind of like, it might be something like that. I even make the joke about, are we sure that's even Allie? Because we know about the multiverse, right? Because it's probably one of those things where people are going to get annoyed. But at the same time, hey, I'm a sucker for that series. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to the next season. Sue me. But this was a really good matchup. I really kind of enjoyed the back and forth deal that they had here, even though people are saying, well, how are you going to make these guys a dominant force when, they're getting beaten up by somebody like QT Marshall, who you barely see, and blah, 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 blah. But you know what? They're getting their foot in the door. They can't seem unstoppable right now, because obviously they're facing a great competitor like Cody, and QT Marshall. I've never really heard of the guy, but in all honesty, he held his own in this matchup. I thought he did a fantastic job. Loved the fact that Cody brought back the moonsault. I thought that was great. It's probably a long time since I've seen him do that moonsault, but it was just absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. It seemed like Cody and QT were going to pick up the victory, but in the end, the Butcher and the Blade were able to hit their finisher, which is like a suplex by one guy into the other guy's knees, which is brutal. It's kind of like what Roderick Strong does. What's the name of that? His finisher.
End of Heartache.
Thank you. Yeah, kind of like the End of Heartache, but done with a tag team deal. So that's kind of what's going on with that. But the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny pick up the victory on their first night in AEW. I thought that was the right move. And kind of a surprise here. We see Cody Rhodes just at the barricade. He's just kind of thinking to himself, oh boy, what am I going to do here? And Darby Allin comes out. He he extends his hand out to Cody, picks him up, and it's basically just one of those moments where it's like a show of mutual respect between the two of them. It was kind of those things where, it was there. It was kind of nice, though. Kind of one of those things where it's, they're showing respect for each other. I kind of liked it. Although, I'm still not going to get over the fact that Cody has that scar above his eye from the Full Gear incident. That's just going to take a lot of getting used to. And I think the next time I see him, I'm literally just going to say, Cody, I know that I said last time, no more steel chair shots. Can you just take it easy on your face from now on? Because I literally feel like the next time I'm going to see you, you're probably going to have like an eye patch, or you're just going to have like a missing tooth or something like that. Just literally, because it's literally reaching that point where it's like, dude, you got like probably a scar in the back of your head, you got a scar in the front of your face. Dude, you're going to be like, you're going to look like a Frankenstein monster by the time you retire. He's just going to have like, these like deals where he could probably look like he'd make a Stitch or something like that. Just, man, guy just got to take it easy. But like I said, tag team match, absolutely great to start off the show.
Yeah, he'll end up looking like Abdullah the Butcher.
Ooh, that's a reference that will never go away.
Yeah, look up. It's one of the War Games matches from like 1990, and Sting straps Butcher into this electric chair, Chamber of Horrors, something like that, whatever.
Oh.
But I was looking at the Butcher, and I'm like, it was Matthew from Botchamania, I think, was talking about this, and it was the lead singer of Every Time I Die, and his name is Andy Williams. Andy Williams, not that Andy Williams, Nelson Muntz. He is the monocled one, the Butcher, and I'm like, okay, I like this guy. I lost my page here, but yeah, it was really, really cool to see this new act. It's weird. They came out of nowhere. They were really weird. They didn't have much of a reaction. It was like the Dark Order. So I don't know what's going on in the tag team division, but I'm curious. I'm morbidly curious and cautiously optimistic there. But yeah, it was good. Cody got the hot tag, and Dallas, not Dallas, but it was just outside of Dallas, Garland, Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He got the big pop. He did the top rope moonsault, but QT Marshall was holding his own. He did like a tumbling plancha moonsault spot during the match, which I've never heard of this guy. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're impressing the hell out of me. And then he did the crossroads. He almost nailed it, but he didn't do it near as bad as MJF.
No, that's
MJF spiked the guy. But
trust me, we're gonna get to that guy, but I'm gonna let you finish up your thought before getting into that.
Yeah, it was intriguing, and I'm like, okay, is Awesome Kong the Fiend?
I don't know. We're not quite to that point yet, but we will definitely kind of talk about it when we get to it. Next deal that we have here is MJF responding to Cody Rhodes, where he basically, actually one of the first things that he did was that he forced one of his guys to kiss his ring that he won against. Was that? Oh, hey, Adam Hangman Page. That's right. This week, and I thought that was actually kind of a nice touch for his douchery gimmick that he's doing. He basically addresses the whole deal about Cody calling him like a second-rate Chris Jericho. He pokes fun at Cody, even talking about his list, which I'm just like, that is a major low blow. So, to my shock here, MJF, he didn't waste time. He said, "You want me, Cody? You what? You got me. I accept. Provided we do it on my terms, and I will address these terms." Not here in Texas, but in Florida. So they basically single out the fact that it will be the first AEW in 2020. To which I'm just like, wow, that's honestly really good planning. I mean, we're looking forward to next week. That now it's like, okay, you have one thing to look forward to in 2020. and it's by one of the biggest heels in professional wrestling today. Very well done. Great promo, and in all honesty, it makes me look forward to 2020. Why can't tomorrow be 2020?
We got to get through Christmas first.
I know.
And it's and the first AEW of 2020 is literally New Year's Day. Crazy. I'm hoping Christmas Day NXT and AEW probably either won't air or do like a best of package here. I'm just back onto the page. I love MJF more and more. I was going to play his entrance theme here, and I'm like, I don't feel like it. But we just had him running his mouth and Wardlow, and I loved he just got this guy in the ring crew to kiss his ring, and when they had that tournament, I'm like, why the hell are they're fighting over a stupid ring? And MJF's making it work. I mean, he's basically being like the Godfather here. It's like, I'll make you an offer you can't refuse, but first you must kiss my ring, and then on the day of my daughter's wedding, I will grant you this one favor. And the Chris Jericho knockoff, and he's like, the scarf, and is going on about that. And when I was Googling some stuff about MJF, I found a clip of him when he was like 5 years old on Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, jeez.
Look it up, folks. It's something else. Like the comment section is like, wow, he was a prick when he was 5. Like, holy shit, that's just a kid.
Man. We get another Dark Order promo where one of the Beaver boys that competed on AEW Dark, basically the guy was saying, like, are you tired of being a jobber? And it's kind of those things where it seems like he's talking directly to him, but then Stu Grayson is basically just doing this deal where he's like, oh, we have all these great features here at this hotel, and I'm just like, okay, this is some classic horror stuff. I kind of dig this, and it's another reason to love Dark Order. Next matchup we have on here is the official debuting of Big Swole taking on Emi Sakura. Mr. Fretz, I'll let you take over for this one.
All right, yeah, that hotel spot in the Dark Order, I'm just like, this is the opening of Luigi's Mansion 1, 2, and 3. Shit's about to go down, but yeah, Big Swole is someone I'm not familiar with. I think she is Mrs. Cedric Alexander, if I'm not mistaken. I've never heard of her, and I've seen little bits and pieces of Emi Sakura. I drifted in and out of these matches here, so forgive me if I don't go through it proper, but we had a really nice heel kick by Swole. Sakura tried to get control of the match and did a hair whip. She applied the surfboard, looking for a submission. Swole fought back and hit this really sick-looking wheelbarrow flatliner move. Sakura applied a mic stand-assisted abdominal stretch. Okay. Swole recovered and hit a really nice clothesline. Then she did the Dirty Dancing, which is like it's like it's a ripcord lariat, but it's a ripcord elbow smash. So it was kind of like an elbow smash version of the Rainmaker. Okay. I was really impressed with Big Swole here, so I want to see what she can do in the women's division. Very nice. Definitely.
The next matchup on here was Hangman Page and Kenny Omega taking on the team of Shawn Spears and Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford in their corner. Now, there was a nice little interesting promo here where Tully Blanchard is talking about, Shawn Spears. He talks about how he wants to create, this new tag team, and he's testing out these new people with Shawn Spears, which I thought was kind of a nice deal. Some great action here, but the major highlight from this entire matchup, in all honesty, was Penelope Ford. I don't care what anybody says. She was one of the reasons why this matchup was just absolutely fantastic. I like the fact that she was kind of disrupting, Kenny Omega, trying to get some momentum going. She did a deal where she did like a handspring elbow deal to the corner on Kenny Omega. That was just awesome. It's one of those things where it's like, A distraction. Yeah. And she's also beating up a former IWGP Heavyweight Champion. This is amazing. This is pretty amazing. It looked like Kip Sabian was going to get a tag to Shawn Spears, but then the lights go out, and everybody's just like, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on?" And I'm just thinking to myself, maybe Pac's going to be doing some deal, because there was a promo that he did before this matchup even took place. I think it was even earlier in the night, where he basically just says it's like, "I will do whatever it takes to get my rematch against Kenny Omega." So I thought that maybe it was him. But no, it turned out to be Tully Blanchard on the rampway, tied up to a chair. And here's crazy Joey Janela, just literally like, "Hey, look who I got! Look who I got!" Shawn Spears gets off the apron, rushes up. People were complaining about the fact that, well, Joey Janela attacked Shawn Spears, therefore this matchup should have been over. I think, in all honesty, Shawn Spears kind of provoked Joey Janela, so I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like, works that way, which, in all honesty, I'm okay with that. If it's one of those things where, the person is provoking it, then the other person should have the right to, fight back. I mean, duh. I pulled a James Ellsworth there, but I think that's kind of one of those things where it's apropos at this point. We see Kenny Omega, the trigger, to Kip Sabian, and I thought, oh boy, here comes the end. But to my surprise, Hangman Page does a blind tag to Kenny Omega. He hits the buckshot clothesline to Sabian for the 3 count, and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, they pick up the victory. In all honesty, this was kind of interesting because you just see the intensity on Hangman Page's face. And you just see him literally just being like, "Yeah, I won that. And this one kind of one of those things where I'm looking at it thinking, are we getting a Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega match down the road? You know what? Take my money. I want this. I really want this. I think it actually makes a lot of sense. With Hangman Page, you see his career kind of doing a small downward spiral since All Out. So I think it's really good to have him get into a major storyline with a major character. And Kenny Omega is that major character. So I'm very interested in seeing what happens with this matchup. They also did announce that Hangman Page and Kenny Omega would be taking on the Lucha Bros next week. So I'm very interested. I'm very interested in seeing what happens. But we'll get into predictions about that later on in the show. Mr. Fretz, your thoughts on this matchup?
I actually didn't watch this match. Okay. I must have been doing something else during this one, but it sounds fantastic. And once I heard about Tully being strapped to the chair, and I'm like, is he going to put him in a freezer?
Don't go to that shit. I know exactly where you're going with this. But now here is the Brandy promo that we're talking about with Awesome Kong and stuff like that. So basically, Brandy is talking about how, she's basically talking about the women of the women's division. She's almost kind of like, quote unquote, burying people. She's talking about how Rio hasn't really been seen in a long time, even though she's the women's world champion. She talks about Britt Baker. Funny thing about this is that she says that, people only talk about her boyfriend, which I was like, no, not really. When it comes to Britt Baker, I've only known her for a few things when it comes to AEW, and that's her literally being a great wrestler as well as her being a awesome dentist. So, that's what I'm thinking about when it comes to those two deals. But she also extends the olive branch to Chris Statlander, who they tried to recruit for their cause last week, but that failed. She also brings back Melanie Cruz, who is somebody from the Midwest who I've never even seen before. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, this is interesting. And they're waiting for the quote unquote alien to come home or something like that. And then there's this random dude that's there, and they're basically trying to keep it a secret, like, oh, not yet. It's not time to reveal them yet. So it's like, okay. But to answer your question about, is Kong kind of being like the fiend of AEW? Honestly, I'm going to say no, because Awesome Kong I've known for a few years. And she does not have that kind of presence that, like, The Fiend would have. And honestly, she's one of those women that when she was in TNA, she was one of those women that everybody kind of feared. And when she became the Knockouts champion, that was literally a moment where she got legitimized. I know, though, over the last few years, she's probably been battling with, injuries and stuff like that. So maybe she's more becoming an attraction. Kind of, I would probably compare her more to like a Brock Lesnar. Not in the sense that she does like only a few moves and then leaves and stuff like that. But she's kind of like the presence when she's there. Something big is going down. So I think that's where it comes from with, that's my thoughts on Awesome Kong, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, I get it here, and I'm intrigued to see where this goes. It's weird, but maybe it leads to Awesome Kong winning the women's title, which I'm totally okay with.
No, I agree. I'm totally for that too. Next matchup, we have Luchasaurus taking on Sammy Guevara, the Spanish God, in his own right. But what's funny about this is that Excalibur and Tony Schiavone, they got thrown out of the commentary deal, and they were replaced by Chris Jericho and Jake Hager, in which Chris Jericho literally was saying that, Excalibur said this thing about me, well, I'm going to show him, basically. And what's funny about this entire thing is that it's JR, Chris Jericho, and that's basically it. Because Jake Hager, he's there. He's got the headset on. Doesn't even say that much of anything. He's just quiet. It's just so funny hearing them on commentary, just literally having Jericho and JR just going back and forth, and all Jake Hager's doing, he's getting paid to just sit there, look menacing, and just don't even say a word half the time. I dig it. I totally dig it. This matchup here was very more one-sided, where Luchasaurus definitely showed off his flexibility. My God, is this guy just flexible for a man his size. I mean, I saw the picture. I look at the picture of me and him, and I'm literally like, dude, I wish I could have that flexibility, but I need to do some DDP yoga for that. But, yeah, this is kind of a very fast-paced matchup. Luchasaurus hit this, tombstone flapjack deal on Sammy Guevara for the victory. And after the matchup, we see Jericho and Hager. They go crazy. We see Dustin come in. He beats down on Jake Hager. He's doing a back and forth between those two. So maybe it's talking about a feud or something like that within the future. Who knows? But out comes Jungle Boy, who does the Hurricane Rana deal and quote-unquote pins Chris Jericho for the reason why, because they are going to have a non-title matchup in the future, which we will talk about in just a bit. Yeah, this was a very fast-paced deal, but it also kind of continued the story between Jungle Boy and Jericho. This was good. Did you get a chance to see this quick matchup though?
I actually did, because I'm a big Luchasaurus fan now. He's so interesting, and I love that. When he cut his promo last week, he started out I'm like, no, dude, I listened to you on Talk with Jericho. You're well spoken. You're brilliant. You're not going to be the zombie on ECW. He's like, It's like, yeah, whatever, man. You think I'm going to sound like that? No. And then he goes on about dinosaurs have been marginalized for 65 billion years. He's brilliant, and I love that tombstone flapjack move. I think he calls it the mass extinction, but Sammy Guevara just saw this death, and then Jericho and Hager were just we got to get out of there now and go help Sammy and Jungle Boy or friggin' JR. Jungle Jack!
Yeah.
He's Jack Perry, but he's Jungle Boy. My goodness, JR is terrible. And I loved the whole sneaky, unofficial, official pinfall. And once I heard they were going to have this match, I'm like, if they do the Chris Jericho Triple H from Raw in 2000, where Jericho won, in parentheses, the world title because Earl Hebner did a fast count. Oh, Earl Hebner works for AEW. Oh no. No, they're not going to go there. They're not going to go there. They want to be different from the competition, don't they? It would be so funny if they did that with Jungle Boy and Jericho, though. I would laugh so hard. And I'm curious because I haven't seen too much of Jungle Boy wrestle individually, singly, whatever. But I think him and Jericho put on a good match. I think Jericho's gonna put him over. I'm not put him over to win, but he'll shine him up real nice because I think Jericho was friends with Luke Perry, so why not?
No, I definitely do agree with you. And in all honesty, Jericho has been that guy to really breed the next generation. I mean, you look at his match with Hangman Page, with Darby Allin, with Scorpio Sky, with Cody. He's definitely one of those guys who knows the business well enough to know how to make somebody look good without making them look bad. So I'm very interested in seeing how they do this. And I think this could be Jungle Boy's coming out party here. We finally get to the main event, which is a Texas street fight between the Young Bucks and Santana and Ortiz. My God, this was very physical, and this was very well done. I mean, they literally started off on the rampway through one of the Young Bucks. They just throw somebody off the stage. We see the Young Bucks try and take advantage. It seemed like they were going to get the early victory, but no. We see Young Bucks taking an early lead, but then Santana and Ortiz, they get an advantage. They do that whole deal with the socks and the baseball gloves deal. God, is that just an absolutely brutal deal. We see literally everything just getting thrown at each other. Even the kitchen sink, even a bathtub at this point. They are literally trying to kill each other. There came a very close point where it seemed like the Young Bucks were going to pick up the victory, but then the referee got pulled out. He didn't get quite clobbered yet. Well, actually, he got clobbered by who was it? This is where he got clobbered by one of the Young Bucks accidentally, and then we had Audrey come in to referee the rest of this matchup. There came a point where they were going to do that powerbomb blockbuster deal on one of the Young Bucks, and literally I was thinking to myself, oh Lord help us, that is going to suck. But nope, they decide to have the Young Bucks get the very beautiful spot taken on by Ortiz, I think it was Santana. They hit the super kicks, they hit their mouse driver, 1, 2, 3. The Young Bucks pick up the victory, and with that victory, they will challenge SCU for the World Tag Team titles next week. Oh boy, is this next show going to be absolutely insane. It's going to be very, very well. I'm looking forward to it. But your thoughts on the Texas street fight?
I loved it. It was just nothing but car crash and spot after spot, including Matt Jackson came in the ring with a Dallas Cowboys helmet and did a spear on LAX. Right. And then LAX grabbed the helmet, spits on the logo. I would too. Go Chiefs. Getting the I'm sorry. Hey, at least I didn't say go Vikings because I believe they're the top rivals of the Packers. So, Chiefs for me, man, even though I don't watch a lot of football. And then spitting on the logo because they're like, Jar's like, oh, my God, they're Giants fans. Because New York.
That's true.
Yeah, because of that. But it was really funny. It's local sports team heat. It's easy and it's fun. Meltzer driver onto a chair, and just, Young Bucks are winning the titles.
Well, I mean, let's get right into those predictions. I mean, SCU versus Young Bucks. You've got Young Bucks. I think SCU is going to be holding on to those titles for just a bit longer. I do not see Young Bucks picking up the victory here, but at the same time, we just don't know. I mean, AEW is a lot more unpredictable. But I think that they want to really build up the Young Bucks a bit more and maybe even build up SCU's title run a bit more to make the title more prestigious. But, I mean, we'll wait and see. I loved the confrontation at the end of the show. It was great. And it's just going to be an awesome deal. Next matchup here is Chris Jericho versus Jungle Boy in a non-title matchup with a 10-minute time limit because Jericho says that Jungle Boy could not last 10 minutes in the ring with him. In all honesty, I do see Jungle Boy lasting 10 minutes. I see him... I think he could possibly upset Chris Jericho.
This is going to be like the Sami Zayn Braun Strowman deal with the 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think it was that.
I think it's going to go exactly like that, and there's going to be one of two things is going to happen. Like, Jungle Boy is going to upset him, I think, quickly, or they'll do a spot where Jungle Boy hits some wacky move with very little. No, Chris Jericho will hit not the code breaker, the Judas effect, and will barely get to the 10 minutes, like to the T. The 1, 2, 3, bang, time's up.
It could possibly happen. Next up, we have Hangman Page and Kenny Omega taking on the Lucha Bros. Mr. Fretz, who have you got for this matchup?
Hard to say. It's a coin flip. I'm just going to say Lucha Bros.
All right, I think I'm going to go with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Not that I dislike the Lucha Bros. I've been singing praises about Pentagon and Rey Fenix for years. But I do think that they're trying to build up the Kenny Omega Hangman Page deal quite a bit. And, I could be wrong. They could possibly do like a losing deal here. But I think that they're going to try and build up the momentum. Hangman Page is going to let his ego inflate. And that's going to end up being just a horrible situation where Hangman eventually turns on Omega. Final matchup for the AEW Dynamite before Christmas is a number one contenders match for the Women's World Championship as Britt Baker takes on the newcomer Chris Statlander. Fantasy booking here, Chris Statlander is going to pick up the victory here. That's my locked prediction for that. But I also see that Britt Baker is slowly going to have this different kind of drastic character change. I don't think she's going to go full-fledged heel, at least not yet. I see her more going a different kind of more edgy deal where she's going to be more looking out for herself more than for others. And honestly, for those that think that she's desperate to get out of her contract with AEW, I do not see that. She has been promoted very well in AEW, and she's been treated very well in AEW. I do not see Britt Baker leaving anytime soon. And is it probably the fact that she wants to be with her boyfriend Adam Cole? I get it, but there's nothing that's going to stop them from being together other than the fact they work in different companies. And there's been other people that have worked in different companies, and they worked out pretty well. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Sean Spears and Peyton Royce are still a thing. So, shut up to all you whiners. Anyway, Mr. Fretz, who have your thoughts on winning this matchup? Who's facing Rio?
Britt Baker, baby!
Ooh. That's a very strong prediction. And the fact that you did the baby definitely does kind of solidify that. All right, guys, we're going to take one final commercial break, and we come back. It's part 2 of the Gamies. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey guys, this is Nate the NateFNGreat. Hey, have you ever wanted to be a champion but can't seem to really find the money and the time to get a championship belt? Well, you know who's a really good friend of mine? AJ from AJsBelts.com. These guys have a large assortment of championship belts, from classic belts to the modern day belts to championship belts that you would not even believe. And guys, like I said, they work with you very well. With an awesome layaway program, there is no way that you can beat these guys' prices as well as these guys' deals, especially when you can give them a little bit of money every now and then until you can get that championship gold. Coming from a guy who's a champion and a game changer, I'm the Nate the NateFNGreat. I'm representing AJsBelts.com, proud friends of the Game Changer podcast.
What's up, everyone? This is the founder of the King's Wings podcast, Will Tarashuk, T's and Thomas, ARASH, UK, and you're listening to the Game Changer podcast right here on Wrestle Act Radio.
You know what's really weird? I think that Will is like the only guy in this entire Wrestle Act Radio family that spells out his entire last name. I mean, spot on him for at least having something original, but at the same time, it's like, dude, just Just show me your Twitter handle, and that's it. But I gotta give Will grief, even though he provided me with a very fabulous place to stay at WrestleMania weekend. Will, love you, dude. I definitely do appreciate it. As far as next time WrestleMania comes to New York, I probably will have to start looking for a place to stay. Who knows? Maybe I could shack up with Dusty Dave, Indie Dave. Shout out to Dusty Dave.
Now we're getting an Airbnb because I'm coming.
Oh, fair enough. So guys, like I said, we are doing the Gamies, and we're going to be doing 6 of these for this week, and then we're going to wrap it up for next week with the final 5. For this week, we got a couple of the worst of the year, but also some predictions as well as some highlights throughout this year. So let's actually go right into it, starting off with one of the worst of this year, starting off with the worst wrestler of 2019. And for some people, they might say Orange Cassidy. I say F you. There were 2 people, in my opinion, that definitely had a worse year than Orange Cassidy. I couldn't even narrow it down. If I had to narrow it down to one, it would be this individual. But the runner-up for this one would be Bobby Lashley, or Bob Lashley, as Roman Reigns likes to put it. You look at his career since he came back, he's done absolutely nothing. And this year was another one where it just started nosediving. Yes, he had an Intercontinental title run. He had 2 of them, but they were so forgettable. And this whole deal with Leo Rush did not help his career out at all. They did this whole deal. Now they got this deal with him and Lana and Rusev, which is stupid. Makes no sense. But worst wrestler by far this year was the self-proclaimed best in the world, Shane O'Mac. Shane O'Mac is my pick for worst wrestler of this year. Hated the gimmick. He sucked in the ring, and there were plenty of times where he was botching. So, that's my final thoughts on that. Shane McMahon really sucked this year.
Oh man, that's a guy I would absolutely pick. If this was a multiple choice question, it's got to be either one of Lashley or Shane. I mean, Lashley had I don't want to say high profile, but a big feud with Finn Balor over the Intercontinental title. It was second to last at WrestleMania, but there was like second to last in a 9-hour show. By then, I can probably speak for you, but I'm in my friggin' recliner watching it, and I'm half drunk. I'm like, will this show ever? And then Lashley got saddled. He was injured for a bit.
That's right.
So I don't think it'd be very fair to pick him, although I would. But no, man, I'm with you. It's Shane, but I can also put The Miz up there just because he got saddled in with his Shane bullcrap. Shane, though, no.
That's right. I mean, Miz and Mrs. definitely make him relevant, but at the same time, it didn't help his wrestling ability. Damn it. I'm sad. Next deal here is the worst contest of this year. Now, when I say contest, of course, talk about worst matchup of the year, and it could be anywhere. Shockingly enough, it's another WWE-related one, and people should not be surprised. Super Showdown 2019 had the worst thing ever, and that was Goldberg versus The Undertaker. So bad that these guys had to come back for one more match just to not have that oh God, what do we want to call it? That stain on their career. Yeah, no, that's the best way of putting it.
Taker hasn't come back for that last match yet, or did he?
Well, he had the tag match with Roman and Drew and Shane, if I remember correctly.
Was that after that?
Yeah, that was after that.
That wasn't SummerSlam. That was
Extreme Extreme Rules.
I totally forgot that happened.
I know.
And I remember, but now if I'm remembering it, it's like it was actually good. I would have. No, it's Goldberg Taker. It's that. It was Mance. I love you for doing this, bro. But one of your most recent gift of podcasts, he live watched it and streamed it. You brave soul.
Yeah, no, definitely. Next up, we have the breakout star of 2019. Who was the star that really kind of just had a shining deal from this year. I broke it down to 2. I'll give you my runner-up first, that being Mansoor, who was having 3 matches this year. He was involved in that Battle Royal at Super Showdown, which is probably one of the highlights of that show. Had a great showcase with Cesaro. And then he had a match on NXT, I want to say about a week or 2 ago. But yeah, he definitely was a shining example. But if I had to go for a full-out breakout star of this year, we have to bask in his glory. That being Keith Mother effin' Lee. And all we have to say is Survivor Series weekend, and that's all the proof I need.
Absolutely, he would be one of my picks, but I'd be remiss if I did not pick. My boy, MJF.
Yeah.
It's got to be a toss-up. I would have played more of that theme, but I'm like, no. I want to go to bed. MJF or Keith. Keith Lee kind of got into it a little bit later in the year. He was signed this time last year, and then I remember him on NXT. He was kind of giving out and complaining like, I've been here for a year and I haven't done a damn thing. And then, boom, his feud with Dijak kicks off, and since then he's been on fire. And MJF, I mean, I saw him coming, I think it was a year or 2 ago, one of the Joey Janela shows, and he was wrestling the lead singer of Wheatus, and I saw then that he was so good at getting heat that I knew he was going to be one of the best heels in the business. And he didn't have that many prominent matches this year, but it was more moments like turning on Cody that everyone knew was going to happen, and just his constant crapping on the crowd and his heat getting ability. He's so darn good at it, and I think 2020 will be a big year for Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
No denying that, no argument for me. Up next, we have the best promo of this year. Who definitely cut some of the best mic work come 2019? Runner-up for this one was Cody Rhodes' promo on November 4th when he was talking about his match with Chris Jericho. I thought that was very well done. But the one promo that stood out the most, though, was actually one that happened a week prior, and that was the Jon Moxley promo from October 30th, where he talks about that unsanctioned matchup between him and Kenny Omega, where he talks about how it's going to be unsanctioned, it's going to be stricken from the record books. But he definitely showcased the fact that he was going to make it something worth their while. And obviously, it's one of the most talked about matches in AEW right now. So much so that it's getting news reports, not in the best way, but it's one of those things where it definitely showcases Jon Moxley at his best and probably at his most pissed off, where he basically just talks about how people are, have been, seeing him in a different limelight, especially coming to AEW, and definitely how it was compared to WWE. So definitely had to go with the Moxley promo.
Oh, I can't say a specific promo, but I would just have to say the man who has been, in my mind, just top of the line on the mic this year is Daniel Bryan. From his heel run as the new Daniel Bryan to always giving out about consuming meat and all that. Do you remember that Royal Rumble burger that had it was at the Rumble earlier this year, and then Bryan cuts a promo about it and smushes it because he's like, how many innocent cows were killed for this? And it was this amazing looking burger with fried mac and cheese and all this stuff. It was that the Good Morning burger. It just has everything in it, and then Daniel just smushes it down you dick, I would have ate that. Yeah,
I do remember that.
I can't, as I said, I can't point out a specific promo other than Cody's that one from Cody. I loved that one, but I really liked his one with Dustin a lot better.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I would have also put the one where he was talking down to Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle that was one that I would have put there too. But the one that he had that was building up to the Full Gear match definitely was one where it's like, yep, that's Cody. That's really good. Next up, we have the returning star of this year, who definitely maybe brought in some shock value, who brought in some awes, who brought in the eyes, who definitely was somebody that you were not expecting to make a comeback, but definitely were either happy to see or just somebody that you just absolutely were not expecting to see at all. Personally, I had to bump this one down to number 2 because the number 1 was an obvious one. Number 2 for me was Batista making his comeback to Monday Night Raw, where he literally just sounds like he's beating up Ric Flair. He drags him out, and just that whole deal where he just goes, "Hey Hunter, do I have your attention?" Huh? And just that deal where he's just straight faced, but he also had that smirk in his face, just where he's like, "Yeah, you're not going to deny me now, aren't you, boy?" That was just great. But the number 1 for me for this year was one that wasn't expecting to come back this soon, but at the same time when he did come back, it was one of those things where I was just supremely happy to see that. And that was the return of the big dog, Roman Reigns. He announced late last year that he was battling with leukemia for the second time in his life. We didn't know when he was coming back. We didn't know what the time frame was going to be from his recovery, when this was going to come down. But one fateful day this year, he came back out and he announced that he was in remission, which was one of the best news that we could have when it came to the big dog. So it was hard for me to choose against Roman Reigns. It's very great to see him back again, and just he's healthy again. He's doing what he loves. In all honesty, he's definitely in a better place than what he was years ago.
Totally. If Roman Reigns is my pick too, I actually forgot that. Wait, it was this year. Wow, 2019 was long. But my other choice. Obviously, is Bray Wyatt. I mean, had it not been for Roman, Bray Wyatt. I mean, he comes back, he completely reinvents himself, and when we first saw him, it was just this Mr. Rogers-ass, "Hi!" and nothing else, and then everyone turns off the TV like, what the hell was that? And I loved it from the start. I'm just like, no, he's thick and twisted. This is going to be cool. I knew it would be so good. But, yeah, I got to go with the big dog. I mean, coming back from cancer is not easy. I mean, I've seen how much a toll it took on my father, and he's kicked cancer's ass. So it was so good to see him back. And before the whole thing happened, I was one of those those classic Roman haters. And I've said this before that Aunt DeStefano, Mr. Rant Father himself, he kind of helped me become a big Roman Reigns fan. Like, I marked the frig out when Roman won the title at SummerSlam, and then just seeing Ant so elated, he was just like, "The big dog is champion!" just flipping out in the street, like, melted my heart, and it shattered my heart in a million pieces when he announced his leukemia. But knock on wood, everything's going well for him now. And I thought he had a good program with Drew, and I like right now where he is. I like where he is right now. He's he's getting all the pops. The WWE universe loves him. He's not getting booed out of the building all the time. Although there were some boo birds out at WrestleMania, it happens. And the whole program he's doing with Baron Corbin right now is dog food thing is. I had to laugh about it because I'm like, you're just doing Ken Shamrock versus the British Bulldog. Yeah, Braun and not Braun. Roman and Bray.
Whew, that's oh boy. That's going to be interesting to see how people react to that. But at the same time, I think it's going to be it's going to be a match that people are going to look forward to. I could definitely see that. All right, so we are going to finish off this edition of the Gamies with the contest of the year, or quote-unquote matchup of the year. Out of all the matches that took place this year, the question was, what stood out as the absolute best in our opinions? Now, I do have a runner-up for this, but I think it might be your favorite for this one, so I'm not even going to mention it because I am actually curious now. But as far as the best matchup of this year went, it was hard for me to choose against this one because I thought it was very well done. I was there live to see it, so it definitely was one of those matches I absolutely was just smiled at the final result. It took place at NXT TakeOver New York, and it was the main event, the NXT Championship 2 out of 3 Falls match between Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. This matchup had everything that you could possibly want. It had the thrills. It had people on their seats. You had so much going into it. And in honesty, I would have much rather had Adam Cole pick up the victory here, but at the same time, having that moment where Johnny Gargano is fighting the odds and he's doing everything he can to show that he deserved to be the big man on campus and to show that he was the right guy to hold that championship. Just the final moment, the final time he has the Gargano hold locked in, and he is just wrenching on Adam Cole, and we're just waiting and waiting until finally he makes Adam Cole tap out, and just that moment of Mr. Johnny Gargano holding that championship, the emotions coming out of his face, his wife coming in and just literally just smothering him for rightful reasons, and that final moment where we just see the end of the show, Tommaso Ciampa coming out, all three of them just hug each other, and we just see that moment. It was just an absolutely great moment. It was a great matchup. Everything was working to a T with that. It was hard for me to pick against that. I loved it. So definitely Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, baby, at NXT TakeOver New York.
Close, but it's not my pick.
I had a feeling.
My pick is NXT.
Really?
However, it took place across the pond. Walter versus Tyler Bate.
Wow.
Like, my God. I mean, these guys went 40-something minutes, non-stop, just spot after spot, and Walter kept hitting finish after finish, and Tyler Bate kept getting back up, and in a tired and groggy state. I mean, Tyler Bate even did the airplane. He did the airplane spin for a long, long time, like long after the crowd could keep counting. I want to watch this match again. It was just so. I think it's one of the best out of both of their careers, and we remember how good his series of matches with Pete Dunne were. For a while, my match of the year would have been Dustin versus Cody.
That's what I thought.
When I saw that one, I'm like, nope, it takes the cake.
Yeah, I definitely do want to talk about Dustin versus Cody because this was a matchup that was done right after it was done wrong in WWE, because we only had their matchup one time at that Fastlane event, and that was where Cody was still Stardust. But having that match at Double or Nothing, where we see Cody, he comes out, and then we also see Dustin come out with the new face paint, where he's doing half face paint and half just his regular face. Just seeing him definitely dive into something different. We just see everything that they did, just laying it all on the line, and all the blood that Dustin put into this matchup definitely showcases the amount of passion that they have for this business. I mean, crossroad after crossroad and a final cut. Literally, these guys were just killing each other, and just after the bell was sounded, it seemed like that was it for Dustin, and we were thinking his career's done. He's done everything he could, and I think that his father would be damn proud. But then afterwards, we see Cody getting on the mic. He says that, he's got a matchup against the Young Bucks at another show, and that he doesn't want a tag team partner. He doesn't want anybody. He only wants his brother. And just that moment where they just share that embrace, that just tugs on the heartstrings. It's just so good. So that was my runner-up. And honestly, I might just have to watch Walter versus Tyler Bate after we get the show done.
Do it, man. You won't regret it.
I mean, it's still not going to change my mind, but at the same time, if it's another matchup that's worth watching, I definitely need to watch it. But, alright guys, that has been this edition of the Game Changer Podcast, part 2 of the Gamies. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review of everything that happened this week. Gotta mention this again. Follow us on Twitter, @Attic_Wrestle. You can check out us at the Game Changer Podcast, the Kings of the Ring, the Fourth Wall WrestleCast, Gift of Podcast until the end of the year, and definitely check out DFCDC, Jeff Famaccio. Definitely worth watching and definitely worth listening to see what his projects are going to be going into 2020. The legendary JF for Mr. Fretz, at @RealFNGame for me. You can check us out on so many podcasting formats, and I think in all honesty, this is where it's going to get interesting, because I think that without us doing all these crazy music deals and stuff like that, more people might reach out to us. So definitely check us out on so many different podcasting formats. And we will talk to you guys in the next episode, because the year is just about over, but there's still quite a bit to do before the end of 2019. So for Mr. Fretz, I have been Nate the Effing Great. This has been the Game Changer Podcast, a part of Wrestle Addict Radio. We are definitely here to keep wrestling real, one day at a time, but we're also here to change the game. So guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Damn it.